Okay, everyone, take a deep, settling breath. We're entering the final furlong of the Royal Ascot 2023 Whirlpool Previews. Delighted to be joined again on the far side by John Blantz of Sky Sports Racing and Maddie Plale of the Racing Post. Looking forward to your insights, both of you. First race is a very strong two-year-old race. It's the Chesham Stakes. It's 1,400 metres on the straight course. How can you be confident with so many unknown quantities? But let's go down the card. Try to pick out a few notable names. Golden Mind was very green, but still won last time. Matt Nuke, likewise, was raw and showed plenty of promise. Sayadati went down in a three-way go at Yarmouth, open to plenty of improvement. A very strong contingent of fillies here. A couple for Aidan O'Brien. Content, impeccably bred, plenty of promise, first time out. La Guarida's form from Goodwood is working out very well. And keep an eye, number 16, Pearls and Rubies. Aidan O'Brien has an excellent record in this race. So, why don't we start with Aidan O'Brien? Pearls and Rubies, John. Very well bred, stable, a great record, and an eye-catching debut.
It certainly was. That was over 5 furlongs, and she was comprehensively outpaced for quite a long part of that race, but stormed home. 7 furlong, you're talking about the two-year-old form, not being much of it. There's even less 7 furlong two-year-old form at this time of the year, but I think she'd be absolutely perfect for this trip. Obviously, all these horses are bred for this. It's in the conditions of the race. I think she'll really thrive at it.
It's an interesting thing that one of the conditions of this race is that the dam has to have won over a certain trip, but she's by no nay never, so she has plenty of speed in there as well. And I'm going to touch on another Aidan O'Brien horse with you, Maddie. Content, talk about crossing a diamond with a pearl by Galileo out of Mecca's Angel, and this filly showed plenty of promise first time as well.
Yes, she did. She got the hang of things late on to finish third. That's the trouble with this race, is there's so many imponderables. We don't know how big a step forward some of these are going to take from their first starts. I like Pearls and Rubies. I think this step up in trip's definitely going to suit her. But the main fancy for me was La Guarida. As you mentioned, Graham, her Goodwood form's worked out fantastically with the 2nd, 3rd and 4th all winning since. By New Bay, she's got a good mix of speed and stamina in her pedigree, but I anticipate that Aidan O'Brien's flying fillies will be involved. He won it with fillies in 2011 and 2017, maybe in September, and 6 wins in this race for him. I think he might struggle to just get a 7th, but the 7 fillies in this race for me are a key talking point. They could dominate.
Yeah, I think the fillies are very strong. Talk about the males in the race. There was a 3-way go at Yarmouth between Sadati, Lightning Leo, who won the race, and Quatre Bras. They're all back again. There's very little between the trio, but Andrew Balding's horses generally come on a bundle for the first run, and Sayadati would be my idea of a horse to go well here.
Well, I think, it should do. The problem with that Yarmouth race was they didn't go particularly strong for a large chunk of the race, so it wasn't necessarily a particularly good reference point as to how things might go here. I think it's going to be a stronger gallop here, so they're all going to have to up their game a little bit, but they're all big potential improvers.
Girls on top here, I think. What about the numbers, John?
Well, I'm going with Pearls and Rubies, horse number 16. I like Namonti. That was a good race on debut over in Ireland as well. That's number 15. La Guarida is very interesting because she's actually got lots of speed, and there might not be a huge amount of early pace in this race, and she might be able to exploit that. So I think she'll go pretty well, number 13. And Snellen, another Irish horse, I think he'll go quite well. It was a nice run at Limerick on debut.
Yeah, La Guarida on top for me, number 13, followed by 16 Pearls and Rubies, 8 Quatre Bras I think will run well, and Matt Nuke, Graham, who you gave a positive mention at the top, number 6, I think could run into 4th.
Aidan O'Brien, I think, has won 4 of the last 7 Chesham Stakes. I think he can make it 5 out of 8. I'm going 16, Pearls and Rubies on top of 13, La Guarida, 9, Sayadati, that's easy for you to say, and 12, Content for 4th. Chesham Stakes, race 1, day 5, Royal Ascot. Beautiful day here at Royal Ascot. Let's have a good look at race 2 on day 5. This is the Jersey Stakes, 1,400 metres for 3-year-olds, bound to be an open betting market. Let's have a look at the runners and riders. Number 1 is Mysterious Knight. He's a good horse, but what happened first time? The Antarctic is not really bred for 7 furlongs, but he's got lots of speed. We've also got Covey, who is a fast improver for John and Thady Gosden. Enfjar is a perfect 2 from 2 and was mighty impressive at Chelmsford last time. We've also got the likes of Holloway Boy, more on him in a moment, but his Ascot record is excellent. And further down, we've got Olivia Miralda, who is a filly at the top of her game. Let's start with the Galloping Clue. It was day 5 of Royal Ascot, race 1, 12 months ago, and Holloway Boy came to the races for the very first time, Maddie, at 40 to 1 in the Chesham Stakes, and he didn't miss.
No, and he showed them how it was done, didn't he, Holloway boy? He's a really talented horse, but he's also been hard to catch right on some occasions. We saw what he could do to an extent in last year's Vertem Futurity behind Auguste Rodin. He veered across the track then, he's got headgear on. But we know he loves these conditions. He's a course and distance winner in last year's Chesham Stakes, and he's been operating at a very high level. He might find this a little bit easier.
I think we all like him to a certain extent here, John.
Yeah, he's got a very good chance, and he's got Covey and the Antarctic, who are two horses that are almost certainly going to ensure a very strong pace, and he was definitely helped by that in this race last year. Some of the form, as Maddie said, after here was perfectly good enough, including in the Vertem Futurity. We can give him a pass for the 2,000 guineas. That wasn't it wasn't necessarily expected to win that race, and it was a soft ground. But here, he's got everything in his favour. I think he'll go well. He's not quite on top, but he'll go well.
Yeah, I can forgive him completely for the Guineas run. Lots of horses didn't fire that day and have bounced back very quickly. Let's talk about one or two others. Covey, Maddie, seems to have a bit to find on the figures, but he is going forward at a strong rate now.
Yeah, he's in my 4. Look, any horse who represents Frankie Dettori, John and Thady Gosden's got to be taken extremely seriously, and there's been a lot to like about the way he's been winning, albeit in weaker contests than this. He's going to need to step up quite a lot on what he's done, but the potential is there for all to see.
He's a reformed naughty boy, this fella. He's by Frankel. He's got that Frankel fire. He ran off with Frankie Dettori on Newmarket Heath one day, but he seems much more relaxed now. But he is a natural front runner, John.
He is, and he banged out really good sectionals at Haydock, no doubt about it. He was a candidate to be caught, and he wasn't. I think he's just a bit too short for me in the betting. He's going to have some speed alongside him, probably some quite quick speed as well, with Holguin and other horses there, and the Antarctic that I've mentioned. So for me, I think he'll go well, but I think he might just find one or two too strong in the latter stages.
Quick line on Enfjar, 2 from 2, runaway winner at Chelmsford. This is much deeper, but he looks exciting.
Goes into a similar bucket as Covey for me, Graham. We don't know what he can do, whereas with the likes of Holloway Boy and my number 1 selection, Mysterious Night, we know what they're capable of. Godolphin have won the last 2 runnings of this race, so they know what it takes. Mysterious Night, gelded first time. As you say, he was very disappointing on his seasonal reappearance, but I think we can forgive him that. He is a Group 1 winner, he won a Group 1 in Woodbine, and these conditions I think are going to suit him down to the ground. We know he has that quality, he's just got to show it, and I think conditions will allow him to do that.
John, I like Olivia Meralda. She ran pretty well in the 1,000 guineas, and at Epsom last time she really clicked. It's a slightly stronger race, but she had something in hand at Epsom, and she does have a turn of foot.
Well, Holguin, who ran in that race, will probably ensure, along with Covey in the Antarctic, a really good pace setup for her, so I like that about her. And yeah, she ran well also in the Queen Mary Stakes last year. If you look at the video of that, that was over the 5 furlongs. She was really sticking her neck out in the closing stages. She's only 7th, but she was 7th of 21. I think she'll go very well. Yes, I think this is a nice race. I think 1 or 2 horses here are a bit short, therefore making the price for others.
Bound to be plenty of money for the Antarctic. It's Aidan O'Brien after all. Yeah. But I think he's a full brother to the lightning fast Batash. He's bred to be a sprinter, and he's up to 7 for the first time. What do you think, Maddie?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that the 7 furlongs will bring out the best in him. As you say, he's got that speed in his pedigree, and he's sort of flattered to deceive a couple of times for me. So I think he's a very talented horse. I think he's probably improving, but I think he's got more to do, as have a lot of these, but that's only if the best bring their A game to the table.
I think we found the winner here, John. What are your numbers?
Well, I'm going to go with Olivia Meralda, horse number 15 on top. I like Thunder Bear. We mentioned the Antarctic race. He fell in on that occasion. The Thunder Bear was absolutely charging home, a bit outpaced mid-race, but then came home really strongly. So I think the 7 furlongs will definitely suit her. I've got the 10 in there as well, Holloway Boy, we've discussed. And Covey, I think, will definitely be able to hang on for minor money, but he'll do really, really well to win this race on the speed.
A mix of proven performers and potential for me. Mysterious Night, the number 1. I'm taking a bit of a gamble on him. Holloway Boy, number 10 in second. Covey, the 5. And Enfjar, number 7.
And with John for the winner, 15, Olivia Meralda. 10, Holloway Boy. Back to the scene of the crime from last year. 7, untapped potential of Enfjar. And number 5, Covey. That is the Jersey Stakes. Well, it's been the Golden Jubilee, the Diamond Jubilee, the Platinum Jubilee Stakes. And this year, it is the QE2 Jubilee Stakes. It is a high-quality sprint race. I think perhaps the most intriguing race of the week on many levels, essentially because of the wonderful international nature of this race. Let's go down the card. Aussie Raider, Artorias, came charging late, just missed last year. Art Power is in great form, especially when he's in Ireland. Big Invasion adds a welcome American presence. Kinross has a great excellent Ascot record, and Frankie Dettori. Rohan has an even better Ascot record. Wellington comes from Hong Kong with tremendous power and class if he's completely on song. Highfield Princess is a wonderful filly who backs up after a slightly unlucky second on Tuesday, and Sacred is another filly who ran very well in this race last year. Pay your money, take your choice, but let's start. A natural starting point is last year's race. And when we look at last year's race, we can pick out a handful of horses here. Artorias in the red and yellow comes charging late for third. Sacred in the red runs an excellent race for fifth. Highfield Princess, also in red, just falters late for sixth. Kinross is in eighth, and Run to Freedom is in 10th. So let's pick the bones out of this finish first of all, John. If I gave you the option of one free bet from that 5 or 6 runners from last year, which one would it be?
I think I'd each way Kinross. He was 8th on that occasion, 8th of 24 though, so it's a big field, and there were some good sprinters in that field. They went a really strong gallop. They finished a bit slower than average, so they were tired in the latter part of the race. And I think you get a very similar race set up here. He's come back and, of course, won at British Champions Day a few months later. He's got some very good form elsewhere on his CV. So I think, yeah, he's not on top for me, but he's in my numbers, and from that lot from last year, he'd be the best.
Matty Playle, I want to ask you about Artorias, the Aussie Raider. I think he comes back here as pretty much the same horse, but with the same question. Can he hold his place in the early stages? I don't think it's any coincidence that the guy who got him to hold his place and get a big win was the world's best jockey, Zach Purton.
I think there's reason to think he can improve on his effort last year. Whether that will be good enough to win, I'm not sure, Graham, but he's been racing a lot more prominently. He's been faster out the stalls from what we've seen of him of late. Good form behind the Australian super horse Animo as well. Connections seem really bullish, and I think he's going to hit the frame.
He seems to have been really laid away with Ascot in mind again. Only had a couple of runs this year, so he should be ready to run another mighty race. I think with James McDonald on this time. I'm going to go back to you, Maddie, for a favourite of yours, Rohan. He didn't show much first time this season, but when he heads back to Ascot, he tends to revive, and we're going to pick him up in a group race here last October, and it was a characteristic late swoop.
Exactly, Graham. You've got him down to a T. This horse is just great fun to watch, and he's just superb at Ascot. He has that hold-up style, he travels strongly, and then he comes with a late swoop. And you're not seeing it in the replay, but he's won the last 2 editions of the Wokingham over this course and distance. He's had a go at some higher company, but I think without a doubt he will get one of these big races. It just needs everything to fall right for him. This year's race, I think it could be a good match for him.
Back to you, John, for Kinross again. This is the champion sprint at Ascot last October. Plenty of give in the ground that day, which he handles very well, but he was an emphatic winner.
He certainly was, and he handles better ground as well. Obviously, Rohan was in there as well, finishing 4th, 4 wins at Ascot in his career, so he's going to go into the numbers as well. So, yeah, I think he can Kinross can definitely improve on last year, and the stronger the gallop, the better for him.
Let's talk about Highfield Princess. We cannot leave her out. She was a little unlucky over 5 in the King's Stand on Tuesday. We know she handled 6, but she just faltered late last year, John, into 6th. Yeah. She's a better horse now, but can she back up? Blue Point won both races. Schwazia excelled twice in a week. Other horses have done so. Can she do it?
She's a wonderful horse, but no, I don't think she can.
Really?
I mean, no, because I think 6 furlongs historically has not been great for her. She's best at a really sharp
She won a
5.
Group 1 over 6 furlongs in France last year.
She won at this meeting over 7, in all fairness.
Well, all right, okay, but she's also probably run her best race when she won the Nunthorpe over 5, and she looked a little bit like she was tired in the latter stages at York the other week as well, and obviously she was run out of things by Bratzel, so I'm happy that she'll run a good race, but I don't think she's going to be scoring here.
Maybe we've saved the best till last. Hong Kong Raider Wellington. I think it's 7 years ago. The last Hong Kong horse at Royal Ascot was in this race. It was trained by Richard Gibson. His name was Gold Fun. He met a little bit of trouble in running, and he couldn't quite peg back a horse called Twilight Sun, a horse who was ridden by Ryan Moore. If you can't beat them, join them. Ryan Moore is aboard Wellington this time. And John, it's a straightforward point to make. If Wellington is at his peak form here, he's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, I think he is. He's been a top sprinter in Hong Kong for a long time now. The only problem this year is he's had a horse even better than him turn up in the shape of Lucky Swayness. If you look at some of those big Hong Kong sprints recently, they've been run at really dawdly sort of gallops as well. Lucky Swayness has often had the first run on him. Of course, as you know, there's no straight 6 furlongs in Hong Kong. I think that would absolutely suit Wellington down to the ground. He's been at the top of his game for a long time. That would be great for Richard Gibson as well if he can get this one over the line, and I think the race will be absolutely perfect for him. I do have in the back of my mind Abel Friend from a few years ago, but I'm pretty sure Wellington will run a really good race.
You touch on the tactical angle here. John said there's no straight 6 furlongs in Hong Kong, but there's a chance that Wellington might just be ideally suited by this.
I think he will be. I think more so than perhaps any other international raider this year, he's going to be suited to the European style of racing. Why is that? Well, he's a Group 1 winner over 7 furlongs. That's always a bonus to have on a testing straight 6 furlongs here in the Jubilee. He's got that class. He's a 4-time Group 1 winner. He travels strongly and he likes a good pace to aim at, and he's sure to get that here. As John touched upon, Lucky Sweynesse has probably just been doing him for a bit of speed in Hong Kong of late. He's going to get totally different setup here, and I think it's really going to suit him.
The only problem with Wellington is this is a whirlpool race. Hong Kong punters are very, very patriotic, especially when they have a horse as good as this. He's going to be a shortest price, I reckon, but I'm going to go with Wellington. But first of all, John, sort out this big Group 1 for us.
Well, Wellington's top of quite a long shortlist, but definitely Wellington on top, horse number 13. Like Kinross, only a fool would write off Rohan over a straight course sprint here at Ascot. And I like Big Invasion as well for Christophe Clermont over from the US. Had no luck at all at Churchill Downs 2 starts ago. Ran really well over 5 at Belmont last time out. The 6 here will suit. I think that one will run into a place as well, but there are loads of chances here.
I think we're all in agreement, aren't we? Wellington number 13 on top, followed by 10 Rohan, 2 Artorias, 15 Sacred was very good in her prep race at Lingfield. I think she can put up an improved performance.
It's heart and it's head. Wellington has a great chance here. He's on top 13, 2 Artorias to come calling late yet again, 14 Highfield Princess and 15 Sacred, who ran very well in this race last year. A humdinger of a race for the QE2 Jubilee Stakes. Race 4 on day 5 of Royal Ascot is a Group 2 race that's doing a good impression of a Group 1 race. It is the Hardwicke Stakes, 1.5 miles on the round course for older horses. Let's have a look at the 8 who go to post. Number 2, Changing of the Guard, represents Aidan O'Brien. He grinds and he grinds. Deauville Legend is back from a break after a really good run in last year's Melbourne Cup. Grand Alliance is a monkey, a talented monkey. Huckham is potentially the class act. There is a slight ground concern for him. Pile Driver hasn't been seen for a long time, but when he's good, as in the King George, he's very good indeed. West Wind Blows is a pretty good 1.25 mile horse. Free Wind is a very good 1.5 mile filly, and she gets the sex allowance. This is a good race. So let's start, John Blantz, with Pile Driver. Let's start with him because go back to King George Day last summer. Yes, 1 or 2 star horses blotted their copybooks, but Pile Driver took advantage in ruthless fashion.
Well, he's one of those horses that if the more vaunted rivals don't turn up, he will definitely do just that, take advantage. And of course, he's a former King Edward VII Stakes winner as well, back in the COVID-affected Ascot of 2020, when that race came before the Derby, unusually. And yeah, obviously you're a bit concerned about the long layoff for the horse, but he's got such a really good CV of exceptionally good performances that I think it's foolish to rule him out. He's in my numbers. I think he'd be doing well to win, but he'll give you a very good run for your money.
Yeah, I'm slightly tempered by Connection's comments. William Muir saying that, you know, this is very much a prep race for the King George that he won. And, you know, although he's prepared him for this race, he expects him to come on for it. Usually they're very confident Connections. So I think Pile Driver has the raw talent to figure here. Love the horse to bits, but perhaps he's going to find just 1 too good this time around.
They're in black and white. He beat Arc winner Torquata Tasso, multiple Group 1 winner Mishriff, Irish Derby hero Westover, and Emily Upjohn, and he beat them good looking. So ignore Pile Driver at your peril, but some people will be very keen on Huckham here, and I get it. What a strike rate, 10 from 16, 4th in the Coronation Cup behind Pile Driver last year, but he's a better horse, it seems, this year, and towards the back end of last year, and his reappearance at Sandown when he beat the Derby winner Desert Crown was exemplary.
Certainly was, and like Pile Driver, he's got a very good record here at Ascot as well. I think he was favoured against Desert Crown by the way the race went at Sandown last time, but I wouldn't get too concerned about that. There is a slight concern about the ground maybe for him, but I think he will go well, and he's got quite a nice draw in stall 4, and he should get a nice position to get a run round just behind the leaders, and I think he'll go very well indeed. He's my on top selection.
Yeah, Graham, you said he's potentially the class act. I don't think there's any potentially about it. I think he is the number one horse here, Hookham. He's got Group 1 form. He's a proven performer at this level. He was brilliant at Sandown on his comeback. That was a very serious injury he suffered, yet he showed no signs of it. Improvement, if anything. Connections think he's a faster horse this time around. I struggle to see past him.
Free Wind, I think, is a danger to all. She's been treated like a piece of valuable bone china. She's been very lightly raced. A 5-year-old who's 6 from 8, only one run in 2022. She did amazingly well to overcome interference at Haydock. And at York, over 1.25 miles, Maddie, it was a race she was entitled to win the Middleton Stakes, but that form got a canny boost yesterday.
Yeah, you've said it, Graham. She showed a good attitude, and I got the impression from what Connections was saying beforehand and afterwards that she wasn't fully fit, she wasn't fully wound up. She will be for this. I think on the balance of her form, she's still perhaps got to find a bit to be competitive with the likes of Hookham and Piledriver if they were at their best, but she's the one on the up. I'd expect a good performance from her.
John Blant's very quick line, if you will, on changing of the guard.
Well, he won the King Edward VII last year, didn't he? It was a bit of a non-event of a race. It wasn't a particularly strong renewal, but he ran well at Chester last time out, so he will provide the pace to the race, and that could be crucial.
Maddie Plale, very quick line on Deauville Legend.
Yeah, he's in my numbers, Graham. He's a horse I really like. He won a Group 3 at Longchamp, and then, he won the second in the King George V handicap, and then he was 4th in the Melbourne Cup. Progressive young horse. We have yet to see what he's fully capable of.
Numbers, John?
Going to go with Hookham on top. That's horse number 5. Also got Free Wind, Piledriver, and Deauville Legend. It was an interesting run in the Melbourne Cup. They'll be having half an eye in that race again, but I think it'll go well here.
Yeah, I was mentioning a Longchamp Group 3. That was meant to regard West Wind Blows, who was back in the winning groove last time. I think he's in my numbers, but Hookham number 5, followed by Piledriver number 6. West Wind Blows the 7, back to form last time. I think he can perform above himself. And Deauville Legend, number 3 in 4th.
Sunny and warm here. Ground is drying. That is a concern, to my mind, for Hookham. So I'm going to go for Free Wind in the Hardwicke Stakes. Number 8, ahead of 5, Hookham. Number 6, Piledriver. And number 3, Deauville Legend for an absorbing Hardwicke Stakes. 3 races to go in the Whirlpool Preview Series for 2023 Royal Ascot. The first of that trio is the Wokingham Stakes, a historic handicap with an enormous field charging up the 1,200 metre straight track at Ascot. Let's go down the card with a quick line on a few notables. King's Lynn in the King's colours. Chipstead, a good winner last time. Number 8, Orazio, a key player. He has looked so good this year. Fresh has an excellent Ascot record. Bielsa won at York last time. Lethal Levi adds plenty of speed and fire to the mix. Kanjar seems to be coming to the boil after a good run. Apollo 1 is bang in form. Probes having a great season. And down at the bottom, quirky but very capable, number 26, Juan Lepan. Key horse though, if there's a group horse masquerading as a handicap here, it could be Orazio. And when we have a look at what Orazio did last time here at Ascot, John, it's a very convincing profile he brings.
It certainly does, and this backs up a very good run from Newmarket as well, where he beat some really good form yardsticks and were quite well clear of most of the rest of the field. So he's clearly a sprinter on the up. That's what you often want in a race like this. I think he should go very well indeed. He's clearly been primed for today.
Maddie, when we look at that video, he's clear of the second. The second is miles clear of the third. The second horse in that Ascot race has run really well. It has to be strong form.
Yeah, my number 1 fancy here, Graham, is Probe, who's £4 better off with Orazio for that 1-length defeat at Newmarket. He then went on to win at the same track next time out. He's got Ryan Moore booked, who of course was so good on Rohan last year. He's got a nice high draw, which is my preference in this race. I think he's going to be very hard to beat, especially with the way he likes to be ridden tactically. He's going to be held up. He's going to come with a late, powerful run. Probe, for me, has got a lot in his favour. Others to mention, Orazio has obvious claims. Apollo 1 was 3rd in that Probe race and then finished 2nd behind Badri at Epsom. He's clearly going the right way and has a talented run in him on his day. Chipstead, you mentioned a non-runner earlier in the week. He's got class. He's also on the up. And want to keep an eye out for St. Lawrence as well.
Pay these guys the big bucks. And they haven't mentioned one key factor here. Cast your mind back to this day 12 months ago in the Wokingham Handicap. Hours and hours of deliberations about what might happen. Hello, winner, 19 draw. followed by 29, 31, 28 and 27. It was the first day that that Stansrail ground had been explored, and guess what? In the big Group 1 sprint and in the Wokingham, that's where the action took place. I'm looking for high draws here. More on that in a moment, John. Give me the Quinella and your numbers, please.
Well, Orazio has got stalled 29, so that would be a big help if what you say does come to pass. Kings Lynn, though, you know how much I love a Royal winner, Graham, and I think Kings Lynn has run really well in 4 Group 1 races here in the past, 2 King Stands and 2 Jubilee Stakes. They've clearly targeted this race now. He's come down in the weights a little bit, ran really well at Chester last time out. I think he'll go really well. I'm not saying he'll win, but he'll be there or thereabouts at a decent price.
Jenny Candlish might not be associated with Royal Ascot winners, but Ryan Moore certainly is. Probe number 21 for me. He's a real strong fancy, followed by 20 Apollo 1, 3 Chipstead, 14 St Lawrence. Classy horse, new trainer. He can run a big race.
Interesting. I'm taking the high road here in more ways than one. 8 Orazio is the obvious one. 20 Apollo 1 is in terrific nick with a high draw. 18 Kanjar is still open to a little bit of improvement. He's got a high draw too. And number 26, Wan Lepan, is a recent winner and a late charger. 8, 20, 18 and 26. As simple as that in the Wokingham. Race 6 on the final day of Royal Ascot 2023 is a £100,000 handicap. It is the Golden Gate Stakes on the round course. 3-year-olds, plenty of useful ones. Let's go down the card. Top weight for Godolphin. Local Dynasty has earned his big weight. And number 3, Liberty Lane. He is a pretty good prospect, that horse. I don't think we've seen the best of him. Laffy has also been in stakes races. Canute comes from Aidan O'Brien's stable on the back of a win. Coco Jack is pretty well exposed, but tough and in good nick. Keep an eye on Knock Bricks. He ran really well at York last time. And another Godolphin runner, number 14, First Sight. This is bound to be a wide open betting race, a really open betting race. The floor's open to you, Maddie. What do you like?
Yeah, keep it simple, Graham, and go with the top horse, Local Dynasty. He has that class. He won the Silver Tankard at Pontefract as a juvenile last year. And most recently we saw him finish 3rd in the D Stakes, where connections were adamant the track didn't suit him. He's a big, powerful horse. I don't think carrying this weight will be a concern for him, and this more conventional track will suit him a lot better than the Helter Skelter at Chester. He's the one for me.
Will the tide turn for the punters with Canute, John?
Oh, you nicked my line. You're not swimming against it, are you, if you go with this one, because he's going to be well fancied with Ryan Moore aboard. Although it was a good run last time out. It was a falsely run race. He missed the break. He pulled too hard, but then when they quickened up, he quickened up as well nicely. A well-run race will definitely suit him. I also, in this race, like Lion of War, who ran really well at Musselburgh last time, and there will go a strong gallop in this, I would have thought. Liberty Lane will be one of those pace angles, and I also quite like First Sight as well.
Maddie?
Yeah, 2 others I'd like to throw into the mix, Burdett Road and Like a Tiger, both lightly raced, mainly the latter. Won a really nice style at Newmarket earlier on in the season, and Burdett Road, a Newbury winner last time, he just seems to be improving at a rate of knots. That's what you want for these meetings. He's got strong lines of form.
I love it. I say I love it when I think I've spotted one that my expert panel haven't. And I think I've spotted one here. It's for Charlie Johnson. His old man Mark used to have a great record in their big handicaps here. I think they've booked Frankie Dettori for a horse called Knock Brex, who's only had 4 runs. Have a look at his profile. Really good winner at Pontefract. Form has worked out well. Second to a horse at Gregory, at Haydock, whatever happened to him. He's St Ledger favourite, I think, now. 4th at York in a good 1.5 mile handicap won by Chesspiece. And he ran really well. He used up quite a bit of energy in front that day and couldn't quite go on with it late. So I think he's still on the upgrade. I'm going to go him on top. John, 1, 2, 3, 4. Take us to the Golden Gates, please.
Yep, 6, 15, 3 and 1 for me, but Canute definitely on top.
Worth saying, Graham, you probably want a wide draw in this. 16, 13, 13, where the last 3 winners have been drawn. That's a misconception on the round course that you want to be drawn on the inside, and particularly in these longer distance races. It's number 1, Local Dynasty for me, Burdett Road 16, Like a Tiger 7, and Canute number 6.
Cannot believe these two haven't even got Knock Brex in the first 4. 13, Knock Brex for me. 11, Coco Jack. 3, Liberty Lane, and 14, First Sight. That is the Golden Gates handicap. 1 to go at Royal Ascot 2023. Royal Ascot is not a sprint, it's a marathon. 5 days, 35 races, so it's completely appropriate that we end with a genuine stamina test. It's the historic Queen Alexandra Stakes, and let's have a look at the runners and riders. A key player, number 1, Stratum for William Buick. It won't be pretty, but he'll grind and grind and grind, just as he did in this race last year and the year before. Dawn Rising is interesting. He's got good form over jumps, and he's low mileage on the flat. Falcon 8 has been a high quality stayer in his pomp. I'm not sure how good he is these days. Goshen is mercurial, but very able. Run for Oscar, keep a close eye on him. He stays extremely well, as does the Grand Vizier, who ran pretty well here on Tuesday. It's the Queen Alex. John Blantz, Maddie Plale, thank you for all your insight this week. It's been great to have you aboard. I'll start with you, Maddie. Is there any logical reason why we should oppose Stratum as he bids for a three-timer?
He's very old, Graham. He's a 10-year-old now. He's a 10-year-old now. He's been around the block. We know he can do it. But equally, I don't think a horse age 10 has won this race in the last 10 years. I would rather go with a value selection. I would rather go with Dawn Rising. He's got very good group form in the book. He was second in the Bahrain Trophy to Al Azi. You remember him, a classy customer back in the day. Won a grade 3 over hurdles and then was pulled up in the Albert Bartlett. So it's an interesting profile, but his rating just 102. That could look quite tasty with Ryan Moore in the saddle. I think Royal Ascot's greatest jockey is probably going to get one on the mark here.
This Plale is bruising my pride here, John. I like a 10-year-old and a 9-year-old in this race. Are you keener on Stratum than Maddie is?
Yeah, I've got him on top. I'm not a particularly emotional chap when it comes to racehorses, but it would be nice to see him win, obviously, 3 on the bounce, and he's got another good race from the Ascot Stakes many years ago as well, on his dance card too. Run for Oscar. Absolutely hosed up in the Cesarewitch at the back end of last season. Had a nice little prep run in the Levmore Stakes recently over in Ireland. If anyone's going to spoil Stratum's party, I think it'll be him.
I've got a theory on Stratum. This is a fairly small field. It might be slow, steady, quick. That is not Stratum's game. He will grind and he'll come home strongly. But I like the look of Run for Oscar here. For a strong stayer, he's a horse who can produce a really strong finishing burst, and he's got good form over hurdles. But that Cesarewitch win, Maddie, that strikes me as a major piece of galloping evidence for this.
I think so. He's very good at this level now, Run for Oscar. We know he likes these long distance trips. The only thing I'd say is that Cesarewitch win came off a mark of 90. He is higher now. Things are going to be more difficult, but I don't think this race is chock full of improving stayers. That's why the likes of Dawn Rising and Stratum are near the top of my shortlist.
Stratum or another, John?
No, Stratum on top for me. I'm going to go with the 1, then Run for Oscar, the 7, the 3, Dawn Rising, for all the reasons that Maddie gave. And I'm going to sling in old Goshen as well. Jumps followers will know he often produces a pretty good run here at Ascot over the sticks. He's going to need to run well here, but it wouldn't be the biggest surprise in racing if he did.
Wouldn't that be fantastic
It would be.
to see Goshen? He's not in my numbers, but I would certainly love to see him spoil the party. Dawn Rising, number 3, young up-and-comer. I'm hoping he's going to take the scalp of Stratum, number 1. Run for Oscar, the 7, followed by a wild card, Estacas, number 4. He's unexposed on the flat. He's never run on the flat in this country. Let's see what he can do. Stratum
goes for the hat-trick. Maybe age is catching up with him. If so, Run for Oscar can be the one to pounce late. I like his chances here. I'm going to go 7, Run for Oscar, 1, Stratum, 3, Dawn Rising, another old boy, the Grand Vizier. He'll plug into 4th. 7, 1, 3, 8. Thanks for everyone who's watched this week. It's been a great occasion. We've enjoyed it. I hope you have. Enjoy the final day of Royal Ascot.